Now showing at a major museum, paintings by the influential 20th century artist John McLaughlin. Say you're not familiar with his work? Neither was our Ben Tracy.
In the world of abstract expressionism, there are certain names that come to mind. Pollock, Rothko, de Kooning. But what about McLaughlin?
All right, so let's start with a bit of honesty. When they told me we were doing a story on John McLaughlin, I said, John who? Why is this art worthy of this exhibit?
There's a resurgence of interest in going back to the 50s, 60s, and 70s and finding those artists who may not have been the ones who were the bold-faced names the first time around. But these are artists who, perhaps more quietly and perhaps with less economic success, continued to create a really powerful body of work.
I mean, it does feel very peaceful in here.
It does, doesn't it? I mean,
Stephanie Barron is curator of an exhibit at the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, featuring the work of post-war artist John McLaughlin.
it just causes a kind of meditative quality that invites you to slow down.
He was relatively unknown partially because he lived in Southern California, not New York City, the epicenter of modern art in the mid-20th century. He was also a bit of a late bloomer.
I mean, he doesn't start painting till he's 48. He bought his canvases at Sears. He used house paint. He didn't go to art school. He didn't apprentice with other artists. I mean, these were all traditional ways that artists became artists.
McLaughlin was born in 1898 outside of Boston. He adopted his mother's fondness for Japanese art and would spend several years abroad in Asia, collecting art and learning Japanese and Mandarin. He later served there as an army translator during World War II. McLaughlin's artistic choices were inspired by the Japanese idea ma, meaning the void or space between, a unique approach at the time.
And so when you look at this, what is the Japanese influence that you see here?
Well, I think he's giving equal weight to the spaces in between. And there's not so much of a foreground and a background, but the background becomes the foreground.
I would stack him up against any American artist of the 20th century. He breaks every rule you can think of in terms of good, acceptable composition for a painting. He splits his paintings in half. Who does that?
Christopher Knight is chief art critic at the Los Angeles Times.
And in the 50s in New York, coming after World War II, the void was a very different concept for Jackson Pollock and Mark Rothko. The void was a place of terror. The world had almost collapsed after Holocaust and the hydrogen bomb. That's, in some respects, almost the opposite of what McLaughlin was doing. The void as a place in which consciousness and perception can emerge.
McLaughlin died in 1976, just as his reputation was building. He had no children, so his paintings were eventually sold off. The Los Angeles County Museum of Art exhibit is set to close next month, but Knight hopes it fills the void of appreciation he feels the artist truly deserves.
When you have an artist of McLaughlin's brilliance, it behooves you to pay attention to him if you have any interest in art whatsoever. And here is this largely unknown jewel in a fantastic exhibition, sort of perfectly organized, waiting for you to go see it. Why not?